Hello, welcome to For the Sake of Ourselves. So this is the very first video and introduction for the sake of ourselves. And I want to just use this time to introduce to you what For the Sake of Ourselves is, why I feel compelled to start this channel For the Sake of Ourselves, and to share a little bit about me and who this is for. A little bit about me to give you an idea of who I am, where I come from, or what my background is, or where I speak from. I am many things, but the thing I'm harnessing here while I'm here is I'm a consciousness facilitator. That to me means it's somebody who is here to walk with you. Walk with myself. I'm very committed to living a conscious, observationally aware life in the driver's seat of my life. I'd like to call myself a life artist, and I'd like to invite other people into the idea of being a life artist for themselves and to live a conscious life and to connect with life, meaning and purpose, and so that they can live at the driver's seat, creating your life and fulfilling your life so you get to live the life that you're out to fulfill on. I'm also a meditation instructor, a Reiki practitioner. In my very early days in university, I took biomedical science, and I love the human body and much about the human body. So, a lot of what I talk to, I really love referencing, the biological and biochemical and biophysical nature of ourselves. And I also I really love energy and the idea of energy. To me, I look at, myself and each of us as a container for life force. We each have our own life force energy, and our state matters, and tending our state makes a real difference in the quality of our lives. And it's something that we have often a lot more say than we think we have about the state that we are and how we can tend that and how we can elevate our state and break free. I am not about putting a happy face sticker on things. I really am about definitely positivity matters, and, having positive mindsets matter, and coming from great context matters, but I'm also really about meeting yourself right exactly where you are. All of the parts of ourself have value, and meeting yourself right where you are, being with yourself right where you are, holding yourself right where you are is extremely important. And I'm not interested in bypassing that with happy face stickers or tools for positivity. Often it can come across that way because I am a pretty enthusiastic human being, and I do see the value in coming from places like gratitude and places where joy gets to be tended and fulfilled. But that is in no means meaning to bypass anything. And please meet yourself exactly where you are, because that is the most important thing. My mission really in life is for myself and people to have a reverent relationship with themselves. Like the most meaningful and powerful relationship with yourself you could possibly have. Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship you'll ever have. Like wherever you go, there you are. You live your entire life with yourself. And, I'm not talking about a self-absorbed relationship, but I am talking about a beautiful, loving, connected, got your back relationship with yourself. And through that, my belief is when we have a real connected relationship with ourselves, we can't help but have a really connected relationship with our life, our environment, and the people around us. And we are built for connection and built to be in communities and together. So when we do tend a really great relationship with ourselves, we can't help but want great relationships with other people too. But I do think it starts with us first. And so that's a lot of where I come from. I come up from a lot of, the biological nature of our body, energy and our state, this idea of consciousness, intending all the layers of ourselves, meeting yourself right where you are, and having a fantastic, beautiful, sacred, really, relationship with yourself and with life. So that's a bit about me. I guess a bit more about me is also I'm a mom of a whole bunch of boys. I have 5 boys, and that also gives me a lot. I feel that's been the biggest teachings of my life is through being a mother, truthfully. I feel really fortunate and blessed. I know that's quite a privilege. I know not everybody gets the opportunity to be a mom and to choose it and to get the privilege of a life where they get to really rest in the enjoyment of it. So, I take it really seriously that I'm pretty gifted that I've gotten to have that experience, but it does give me a lot of who I am and how I've gotten to come to some of these ideas that I have. So that's a little bit about me. I'm sure through these, other episodes, or I don't even know what to call them, but these other conversations, you're probably going to learn a lot more about me, because there's, a multidimensional being and pretty complex and also really simple at the same time. Just like I'm sure you're a very complex human being. You're very multidimensional. You have quite many different layers and aspects to yourself. And yeah, it's tricky to just put yourself in, a little bit of a segment and to be seen and heard. But that's a little bit about me. Now, who is this conversation for the sake of ourselves for? So for the sake of ourselves, this conversation is really for, I could really say it's for anybody. You're human. You're interested in a life that matters, a life that has meaning, a life that you're connected to. You're interested in elevating your relationship with yourself or the people around you. You're interested in some joy and some happiness and fulfillment, some meaning. You're interested in feeling alive, feeling like there's something to wake up for, feeling like this life had purpose and value. That, one of my mottos is, on my, death is a dear friend of mine, and on my deathbed, I want to, feel like I lived, to feel like I mattered. And, this really conversation for the sake of ourselves is for others that feel the same thing. Did this life matter? Did you live? Was it meaningful? Were you satisfied? So if you're out to have a satisfied, fulfilled life where you got to know yourself and the people around you and you got to experience life, if that matters to you, this conversation is for you. If you're interested in being a great human, if you're interested to be a accountable and responsible citizen, if you're interested to deepen your connections in your families and in your relationships, or as a parent, or as a son or a daughter, or any role that you play, if you're interested to elevate that relationship, this conversation is for you. This conversation, can be for people in all different kinds of spaces. You could be in, some shadowy, darker places, and you're looking for some life force and a little bit of light and a little bit of an uplift. This conversation can be for you. You can be somebody that's been walking this path for quite some time and are very self-aware and very invested in yourself, and you're looking to find a community or deepen this conversation or have different lenses or inquiry points for this conversation. This conversation can be for you. I do sometimes curse and swear. I will look to minimize it. I will look to rate it in the comments. So with that in mind, please bear in mind this is for adults, generally speaking. Although I love working with youth, one of my favorite things is to work with youth, and I highly recommend youth to listen to this conversation. But please be warned that, at least some PG parental guidance might be necessary, and I will look to label them appropriately. So who else is this conversation for? This conversation really is for anybody looking to deepen their relationship with themselves, with life, looking to, some people are looking like, you hear about what does it take to love myself, and what, how do I step into self-love? So, this is a great conversation for those interested to learn tools and resources to love themselves deeply and reverently, and to love their life deeply and reverently. This is a great conversation for those looking to elevate their health and well-being, to look at all the layers that they are as a human, and to take great care of yourself. If you're looking to take really great care of yourself, this is a great conversation to have. If you're looking for, how you can make a difference for yourself and the people around you, this might be a great conversation to listen into. You might get inspired by ideas as you connect to deeper layers of yourself and to what matters to you. This is a really great conversation for people that are in transition periods of their life, looking to understand themselves, looking to discover themselves, looking to have a more authentic, true relationship with themselves and other people around them. This is also a really great conversation for people looking to get more in tune with their emotions, with their body, with their mind, with their spirit, with their heart. For people that are looking to be more accountable and responsible and observationally aware. This is a great conversation for people that love, learning new resources and tools to expand their life and to deepen their level of accomplishment and success in their life. So these conversations can really be for a lot of different people in a lot of different stages of life. So if any of these conversations speak to you, take it, ride it, go with it. This conversation is really for anybody looking to enhance the value in their life. And my commitment is that you find value here. I do want you to remember always that you are the driver in your life. You are the person operating this meat sack of yours and into all the information that you intake. You know best about yourself. I don't know best for you. Many people around you don't know best for you. They may mean best for you, but I invite you to take a look at what works for you. And if there's anything you hear here that you don't resonate with, you're not aligned with, you're not a yes to, throw it away, toss it out, don't take it in. There are many different ways to have this conversation. There are many different people having this conversation. I talk in whatever language I talk in, and sometimes I can't even understand my language I talk in, and it's tricky to articulate what I'm trying to say. But really, I'm committed that you always have the power in your life, and you don't abdicate that. You are a sovereign being, and this matters. So please always walk with your own best interest in mind and take what has value out of these conversations, take it, run with it, enjoy it, bask in it. Anything that does not have value for you, or that you're a no to, that you get a reaction to, or this is not for me to, meet yourself where you are. Maybe that's not for you. You might be confronting something that you want to dig deeper in, or this might not be being said in the way that makes a difference for you. So toss it out, throw it away. And, my invitation to everyone is listen to multiple people having this kind of conversation. There's many different ways this conversation is had. I don't know if you can hear the piano in the background. I love it. That actually brings me to the next section that I wanted to talk is some housekeeping bits. So I live in a house that can be a little bit busy. People are roaming around in the background. As I said, I have, 5 children. 2 of them live at home, soon 3. Another one's moving back in. Makes me so excited. But they will be in the background. They're not in this room. This room is off in private. They're not listening into this conversation, but they are off living their life here in their home. And often the piano will get played. People will, drop a dish. Something will happen. I also have a little dog that roams around sometimes, and her nails make quite a loud noise across the floor. So you might hear her in the background. She's also an older girl, and sometimes she has a little bit of a struggle with her breathing. She is okay and she's well taken care of, but you might hear her in the background, just doing her. You might hear a door open and close. So just to be aware that, I'm not putting any production behind these videos or these series. I am, just pressing record and here we go. So you're going to get a little bit into my life and hearing some of what goes on in the background of my life. And I'm just going to still go with it and be here with you in this conversation. And hopefully it's not too distracting. And if it gets too distracting for me, I'll pause it and come back to continue the video. But so that's some housekeeping. I guess some other housekeeping is, I mentioned it a bit earlier, is sometimes I do, I have certain expressions and I can be feisty sometimes, and sometimes I do swear or I do curse. Please, I hope it is not offensive. I really am speaking from my energy, and sometimes I just can't find the word to capture it other than a certain harnessed word. And I will look to label each of my videos appropriately so that if there is any swearing in it, it will have a cautionary tale so that you can then choose at your discretion of whether you are going to listen. I will also look to refrain myself to the best of my ability, but I won't be promising that I won't, because sometimes there's certain times where, a word is just needed to capture something, and there it is. So, I apologize in advance if that is offensive for you. It is not meant in that way. It is just meant to be a free form of self-expression. I will look to, I really like to look to include all people, all walks of life, all genders and associations. Respect really matters to me, a really deep respect. So I hope I meet you with respect right where you are. If for some reason I step over something that doesn't work for you, I actually would like to know. I'm learning and growing myself. So if you have some feedback for me where something I said was offensive or stepped over a boundary for you, I would be willing to hear it and take correction. I will, though, still stand in my own self-expression, and sometimes we will be different and have different opinions and different viewpoints on things. I'm not going to necessarily totally adjust myself, but I am looking to be respectful of all people in all walks of life. So, and I am out here to learn and to grow. So, feel free to teach me as I need to be taught. So I think that's most of the housekeeping. Some of the things I also want to share in this first video is just what to expect, right? We're not really getting into the big conversation. We're going to talk a little bit as we approach the end of this video about, what this channel is specifically for and why it is created. And that might even give you a lot of food for thought and some inquiry points to point into. But just before we go into that, I talked about who I am, who this video is for, and, what to expect. I plan to be as a game and a challenge to myself for the sake of myself, because I feel very compelled to have this conversation. This has been weighing heavily on my heart, truthfully, of this conversation really matters. I speak to, many clients that are out to live engaging and fulfilled lives. I, talk to my friends and family around me that are out to have really fulfilled and engaging lives. And, as I walk through my day to day, I see people struggling and people uncertain and people suffering. And, if any of this conversation can make a difference, I want a difference to be made. This might not be the difference that makes a difference for you, but if there's anything that I have within me that can make a difference, I want it out here. So this for the sake of ourselves is also for the sake of myself, to have this expression out there in case any of it will make a difference, even if it's a difference for one single person. And this video isn't watched by anybody else other than that one person. Hello, thank you for being here. And I hope it does make a difference for you. And what you can expect inside of, this need to have this for the sake of ourselves series is I am looking to do 2 to 4 videos a week in conversations that I feel inspired and called to do, from my day-to-day experience or from working with clients or for what I'm seeing from the world around me, of the kinds of conversations that I feel might make a difference in that moment. I am going to bring it forward and share. I have a lot of different tools and resources I've learned over the years, a lot of different conversations I want to have with you. And I wish I could have it all in just like, and put it all in a great form and, have you have access to it. And I'm going to use this as a method for me to look at how do I articulate it in a way that's concise or invitational and makes a difference. And so this is part of my learning and my growth, these videos. So what you can expect is 2 to 4 videos a week being posted. There might not be any range of, specific themes. They might be, sometimes my brain, I have a bit of a neurodivergent brain, and sometimes my brain goes from hopping to different spots. So sometimes there might not necessarily be a rhyme or a reason behind the videos. It's what I'm inspired or compelled to talk about and what I feel, I guess I'm channeled to talk through and talk for and in service of, I will be doing. I will look to label each video as best of my ability so that you can find videos that make the most sense to you. So that's what you can expect about consistency and timing. I will be doing these videos in multiple locations. This is here in my home, in one of my rooms. You might see me outside on my deck doing some of the videos. Might be in my car some of the times, because really I'm just committed to have a variety of conversations and just free-flowing conversations where we get to connect, talk about something meaningful, something either I'm dealing with, I've seen somebody deal with, or something I'm inspired to share. So, you really get a chance to just come into my life where I am. You might see me in the kitchen. You might see me in different locations. You might see the mess that's behind me, because I'm not always, a perfect human. I'm a real life, raw human, and you're going to see me in my natural environment. So that's what you can expect with the when and the where. Now, I'd like to get, what is this channel? So, I've been I was really inspired to call it For the Sake of Ourselves. And when I say for the sake of ourselves, what do I mean? Well, for the sake of ourselves, just that. First, I guess, ask yourself, before I go and answer that, I'd say ask yourself, what does for the sake of ourselves even mean to you? What does it evoke? What does it inspire? What does it call forth in you? For me, when I say for the sake of ourselves, it's for the sake of our satisfaction, for the sake of our joy, for the sake of our life force, for the sake of our energy, for the sake of our mattering, for the sake of our connections, our relationships, our families, our communities, for the sake of our citizenry, for the sake, we can get really significant here, and it's not meant to be heavy, but if this is really real, it's, it can be for the sake of our legacy, for our future, for even us as a human species, for the sake of our accomplishment, for the sake of staying on this planet, because sometimes that takes something. And for the sake of ourselves is for the sake of, use this word for yourself, for the sake of myself, for the sake of yourself, and for the sake of ourselves together. I like to use the words often, me, myself, and mine, you, yourself, and yours, us, ourselves, and ours. You'll hear me reference that at times. You'll hear me reference a lot of words. Sometimes I have my own vocabulary and language. But that's really what this channel, for the sake of ourselves, is meant to fulfill on. It's meant to inspire. It's meant to invite. It's meant to give you inquiry points, waypoints. It's meant to give you tools, resources, sharing personal stories and personal growth. It's meant to, ideally in the future, it'd be great if there was a community aspect and element around. So, if you'd like to share yourself in the comments, if you'd like to share in that, let's see what arises and let's see what may come. This is meant to be a series of conversation. They're unscripted. I do think of the intention of what I want to fulfill on. I have decided that I'm purposely not doing it short and sweet. I really looked at doing it short and sweet, but really for multiple reasons, I feel there's a lot of short and sweet, a lot of quick reels that are happening. And hey, they can serve a purpose. They can have a lot of great messaging and a lot of great information. This isn't necessarily meant to be informational. This is meant to be, hello. Let's sit for a moment with each other. Let's inquire. Let's have a conversation for the sake of ourselves. This is meant to have some more depth and meaning. It might be more lengthy. Some of these videos might get really long. I trust you can put me on, 1.5 speed, 2 speed. I don't know what I sound like. It's going to be really interesting what I sound like double timed. But, I trust that you can fast forward. You can get the parts that you want. I trust that you're going to find the videos that matter and that'll make a difference for you, and that you're a big person and a big human and you can navigate that on your own and find the parts that have value for you. And in time, maybe I'll do some editing and pull out some great snippets and make some shorts in that. But for now, I really am committed to just nothing being in the way of us having a human to human conversation. So that's going to look like sometimes me going off topic. Again, I have a bit of a neurodivergent brain that goes into a bunch of different spots. So thank you for bearing with me, and it's going to look in different ways, but I look forward to have these conversations with you for the sake of ourselves. And that's what is intended and what is meant to be, very purposefully. And in that, again, it does train our brain and train our body to sit in conversations, to take the time with it. These conversations, I invite you to, make yourself a really tasty, nourishing drink. Have a cup of tea, make yourself a little elixir, or have some water with some lemon or fruit in it. Sit down, put your feet up, grab some self-care practice tools that you love, like your moisturizer, and put some moisturizer on your legs, or give yourself a massage while you're listening, or, whatever other tools that you can put together with this conversation, so that this time that we spend together, this time that you invest in listening into this conversation, has value for you. So that's a little bit about what this conversation is going to look like, what for the sake of ourselves is. I'm going to talk often about, tending the layers of ourselves. I do look at, like, we have 5 layers. We have our body, we have our mind, we have our emotions, we have our being or ontological layer. Sometimes I'll call it spirit. We have our consciousness, our observationally aware layer. Now, we have many more multiple layers than that, but those are the 5 I often reference that are important for us to tend regularly as an act of our health, well-being, and taking great care of ourselves. So you'll hear me reference that and invite you into tools and resources regarding each of those layers. I'll talk lots about emotional regulation in general, talk a lot about new findings and teachings and many, many things. Anyways, I'm not going to get into everything we're going to talk about, but some of those things I really do highlight often. So they might be reoccurring. Sometimes you might find me again, repeating certain conversations. Conversations are meant to be heard multiple times. What did they say? I think it takes 6 times to hear a conversation to really start to integrate. So, I might be even purposefully reiterating conversations, reiterating what I'm saying as an opportunity for you to hear it in either a different lens, a different way, or just in a multiple time. And again, nothing that I say is really, in fact, absolutely true. These are ideas, these are learnings, these are teachings, these are discoveries. These are true for me. These are true for what made a difference for me, but you get to say what's true for you and what makes a difference for you. So again, take what you want and throw the rest away. Now, why? Why do I feel compelled to take this time to have these conversations? It's a big question I keep asking myself. This has been heavy on my heart for some time. These conversations really matter to me. Our species, our humanity, our citizenry, our community, our connections, our families, our satisfaction and fulfillment really matter to me. It really matters to me that you have a really great, fantastic relationship with yourself, a loving, got your back relationship with yourself, where you take the time to learn yourself and understand yourself and get to know yourself and meet yourself right where you're at. I really do believe when you get to know yourself and understand yourself, you then get to advocate for yourself. You get to create the environment around yourself that you really need and that makes a difference. So your favorite self, your most flourishing, thriving self, gets to lead the way and come out. Selfishly for me, by you having that relationship with yourself, I think that we would live in a peaceful, more unified world. Because if you are somebody who understands yourself and advocates for yourself and tends an environment for you to have an environment that works where you can be regulated and flourishing, all the environment and the relationships around you are going to flourish in a more expanded way, and we're going to have a more peaceful and unified world. So in a bigger picture, it's for peace and unity, and for a saying I often say is love wins the day. I want love to win the day, and it starts with ourselves. So I want you to have a loving relationship with yourself for the sake of you. For just even if it's not just for the sake of us and for ourselves, it's for the sake of yourself, for the sake of your satisfaction, for the sake of your life force, for the sake of you staying on this planet and knowing yourself and discovering your essence and knowing your value and discovering that value and making your difference and having your contribution and being yourself fully fulfilled and self-actualized. Like, wow, I want that for you. I really, really, really honestly want that for you. And if anything I can say can make a difference for you to have that, I want to say it. I want to gift that to you. I want to share what I know that's been part of my path. If any of that makes a difference, I want you to have that too. And again, I love the ourselves, not just yourself, because we're in this together. Even if you're somebody that has an extremely different viewpoint than me, and we might disagree on most things, we still live on this planet together. And somehow we need to find a way that we are living on this planet together for the sake of ourselves, for the sake of our children, for the sake of our future, for the sake of our humanity. I feel like we are at a real, tipping point in a lot of way with the size of our population on this planet, and rubbing up with a lot of different ideas and polarities, and not a lot of tools and resources of how to have conversations for workability and what works with each other. part of this conversation for the sake of ourselves is for that, for our humanity, for our peace, for our connection, for our citizenry, and for us to be accountable, responsible humans that are living together copacetically at minimum, and ideally peacefully and lovingly. Yeah. So those are some of the reasons why I feel compelled to take this time and have these conversations. I might sometimes be really significant about it because it really matters to me. Sometimes I get really playful about it, really fun, enthusiastic. Some of these messages will be really lighthearted, short, playful tools, snippets, and some of them will be lengthier conversations that, sit down, put your feet up, let's have some time together and chat. So that was a really long way to say what this channel is about, why it's about, and who it's for. But I think I've covered most of what I want to cover. Looking here, the only thing maybe I haven't covered are my commitments and what I'm out to accomplish to fulfill on. So my commitments are to create a safe space, first off, where each person is included and welcomed, with a caveat that you are also committed to people are included and welcomed, because again, this is a safe place for all. Again, that saying of mine, love wins the day. Like, I'm committed that love wins the day here. I'm committed that you discover that for yourself. I'm committed that you get to bring that into your life in some way, shape, or form, and that you're left with that as value. I'm committed to authenticity and honesty. With that means I'm being kind of vulnerable, and at times I'm going to look bad because, like all humans, we're just not perfect, and we all kind of want to have a bit of a perfectionism, perfect thing, and I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to fumble over some of my words, and I'm really committed to authenticity. So I am giving myself grace. I ask you give me grace as we are in this conversation together, and we get to practice, bringing grace to each other, human to human. I am committed to growth and to learning and expansion. I don't know everything. I just know the things that I know, how I know them. And even that, it's fluid, it's moving. I'm really clear, like, the more I discover, the more I discover there is to discover. So if there is something that I need correction on, please feel free, correct me. And I will take that feedback accordingly. And I do need to be true to myself. So I am committed to be true to myself, to my heart, my being, my essence, my nature, my spirit. So those are my commitments, along with many others. Thank you for being in this conversation with me. Thank you for showing up to this conversation with me. Thank you for saying that you matter and that your satisfaction and fulfillment matters, and taking this kind of conversation on. I look forward to having further conversations with you and exploring for the sake of ourselves. Thank you. Bye.